डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन युनिव्हर्सिटी.
Namaskar dear students and learner of this course. I am Professor Kamesh Rawal. I welcomes you in the video lecture series of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. We were discussing a subject called Computer Fundamental and Information Technology. We were discussing a block number 3 and a unit number 1 of the block 3 we have started. So, in that we are discussing what actually the computer network is. I think in the last session we have defined the term which is called computer network. Not only that, we have also discussed the advantages, limitations and categories of our computer network, right? Now today, in our today's session, we will see few more things about the computer network. In our today's session, first we will see a different type of networks. Based on the technology, there are two type of networks are there, right? So, what are those types that we will discuss? Not only that, the computer networks can be done by using different kind of arrangement, physical arrangement, and that arrangement is nothing, it is called a topology. So, there are several topologies are there, and we will discuss each and every topology in a very greater detail, right? So, let us start our today's session. Fine. So, I think in the last session we have discussed what actually the computer network is, right? So, now we know that two or more devices, if we are connecting with each other, right, by using some media to share the information, either information or to share the resources, then it is called the network. And if the devices are a computing devices, then we will say it's a computer network, right? Okay. Now, depends on which type of switching technique is used in the network can be classified into two types, right? Point to point network and a broadcast network. So, you know, I think you people might confuse with, you know, sir, in the last session you have discussed types of network, they are LAN, WAN, MAN. Yeah, that classification we have done based on the geographic location of the network, right? Let's suppose if all 50 or 100 computers are there, 10 to 50 or 100 computers at the one premises in the one building, then we will say it's a local area network, right? So, that was actually based on a geographic location. Here we are talking about, we are doing or classifying the network, right, by using a switching technique. What type of switching technique is used in the network? Based on it, we can classify, we can divide our computer network into two types. One is called a point to point network, second is called a broadcast network, right? So, we will see what actually the point to point network and what is a broadcast network. Okay. So, point to point is the simplest type of network where two computer or two routers or one computer and router are connected directly, right, without any intermediate device. So, let if two computers are connected with each other, or we can say one computer is connected with the router, right. So, that type of combinations are there, it is called a point to point network, right. To send the packets from a source machine to destination machine, a packet on a point to point network must have to first visit a one or more intermediate machine or router. So, if you have a one machine, then second machine and third machine, if you are transferring a data from one machine to third machine, obviously all that data will pass through a machine number 2, right. So, here what we can say is there is a point to point link is there between machine number 1 and machine number 2, as well as there is a point to point link is there between machine number 2 and machine number 3, right. So, this type of network is known as a point to point network. When the packet is sent by the source machine, when any machine is transmitting the data to the destination machine. Each intermediate router between the source and destination machine will store the packet, right. So, see here what happened actually, let a machine number 1 is there, which is actually transmitting some packets. So, obviously all those packets will be stored into the memory of the router, right. There will be a router is there, and in that router's memory we are storing all the packets, right. Then the router, when router will becomes a free, at that time whatever packets are there in the memory of the router will pick up one packet and it will transmit on a one particular line, right. Then the second packet, then the third packet. So, whenever the router will become free, it will transmit a 111 packet on a dedicated line. Make sure, it is very much possible that I am a router, I am having a 5 packets to be delivered and there are 5 lines are there, right. So, from the 5 lines I will choose the optimal line, right, shortest path line I will choose, and I will put the packet on that particular line, right. I will not put the packet on all the lines, all the outgoing lines, right. So, that is called a point to point network, right. I think now the things are clear, right. Intermediate router keep packets into their local memory till the outgoing line towards the destination doesn't becomes free. When the outgoing line will becomes free, at that time the router will transmit the packet from the memory to the proper outgoing line, right. So, here the routers are actually intelligent machine, right. Suppose if any data is coming from one source, it will be stored into the computer memory, then the router will check, yes, the destination for this packet is some XYZ. Now, from here there are 5 different paths are there, right, and we can transmit the data on any path, right. But what router is doing, from that 5 outgoing line, it will choose which one is which line is at the shortest path, right, which is the optimal line, and on that optimal line the packets will be transmitted by the router. So, here routers are the intelligent machine, right. It knows that there are many ways are there to reach at the recipient end, but the thing is it will choose, it will compute the shortest path, the optimal path, and on that path the source packet will be delivered, right. It will not be delivered on all the lines, right. So, that type of network is known as a point to point network. So, if we will talk about internet. So, obviously internet is it is working on a router, right. So, router and gateway technologies are there, and here it is the best example of point to point, right. Whenever you are transmitting any of the packet, obviously the packet will goes to the router, and router will determine the best path, the optimal path for the your source packet, and on that line router forward your packet, right. It will not be forwarded on all the outgoing lines, and due to that reason what we can say is internet is the example of a point to point network, right. So, any network where you are getting a router and router is not sending the packets on all the outgoing line, it is called a point to point network, right. The another type of network is there which is called a broadcast network. Think, let's suppose if I am a router and there is one packet is coming from the source machine. Now, I will see, yes, there are 4 outgoing lines are there, and if I will make a copy of the same packet and I will put the copies on every line, every outgoing line, then what I am doing? I am doing a broadcast, right. Here I am not selecting a dedicated line, right. Whatever incoming packets I am getting, I am putting it in on all the outgoing lines. It is called a broadcast network, right. So, basically when the broadcast network has been used, so basically if you are using a local area network, if you are using a hub or switch, then whatever data is coming from a one machine, it will be broadcasted, it will be sent to every machine, right. So, whatever signals are coming from one machine, it will be broadcasted to every machine, and that is called a broadcast network, right. So, in the local area network usually we are using a broadcast technology. So, in a broadcast network a single channel is shared by all these stations, right. So, in the local area network there will be only one hub is there, and all the machines are connected with that particular hub, so it's a single channel. Okay, packets are sent by any stations are sent to all other stations, right? Now the thing is, other stations will check the IP address, right? The IP address which is stamped on the packet and the IP address of the self machine. If both are same, the machine will understand, yes, this is the packet for me, and it will be given to the user. If a machine's IP address is not matched with the IP address stamped on that particular packet, that machine will simply ignore that packet, right? So here, whenever any machine is transmitting the data, we are sending that transmission packets on every machine, right? The recipient machine will receive the data, rest of the machines will simply ignore that particular packet, right? That type of network is known as a broadcast network. Fine. There will be address field is there. So, in every packet there will be address field is there, and before transmitting the data, sender machine will put the source IP address and destination's IP address, right. So, before transmitting the data, source machine specify the IP address of source and destination machine. When the packet will be broadcasted, it will received by all the station, right. That machine for which this particular packet is intended, it will keep the copy of the packet, and rest of the machine will simply ignore the packet. Okay. Now, the next topic which we need to discuss is called the topology. Topology is somewhat how physically you are arranging the computers, how you are physically connecting the computers to create a network. That is called a topology. So, topology is nothing, it is called the physical layout of the network, right. So, network topology, it is a method of arranging a network devices physically or logically into the network, right. So, how the networking equipments, networking devices you are connecting with each other, it is called a topology. Topology defines how the network devices are arranged into the network, or we can say how the physically all the computers you have placed, right, in the network. There are different type of topologies are there. The first topology is called a star topology, second is a bus topology, ring topology, mesh topology, and hybrid topology. Let us see one by one different topologies. Okay, the first topology is called a star topology. So, you can see in the figure, there will be a central device is there, central controller is there, which is either that can be hub or switch, right, and all the computers are connected, right, with that particular central controller, hub or switch, through the cable, right. So, here each device has a point to point link with the central controller. Now, what can be a central controller? That can be either hub or switch, which is easily available in the market. In a transmission of the data must pass through the hub or switch, right. So, if one computer is transmitting the data for the another computer, obviously that data must pass through the hub, because here every machines are actually it's connected with the hub or switch. Network does not be affected if any one machine is going out of order. So, let us suppose if one of the machine is not functioning, it is fine, rest of the machine and your network will working fine, okay, there is no problem is there. So, let us suppose if there is a problem is there in one of the terminal, obviously it will not affect the rest of the computer and network, right, they will work fine in the network. Okay. The problem with the star topology, here a more cabling is needed. Why? Because let us suppose if you have two computers, you have arranged nearby, but still from both the computer you need to bring the cable and you have to insert it into the central hub or switch. It is not like we will run only one cable and with the on a one cable we will connect all the computers. If there are two computers are there, you need to take two cables, right, one from each computer, and you have to do the cabling till your hub or switch is placed. Okay. So, due to that reason, we can say in the case of star topology, we need to use a more cabling. Okay. Based on this is the next topology. Okay, star topology we have already discussed. The next topology is called a bus topology. So see, here in the case of bus topology, there will be a single cable is there, and that will be a thick cable, which is usually a coaxial cable. Normally we are using that coaxial cable for our cable TV, right, channels. Okay, so that type of cable will be there, and all the machines are actually plugged with that cable. That cable is also known as a thick cable, thick coaxial cable, or we can say it's a central cable, or it's a backbone cable, right. So many names are there of that particular cable, but here every computers are actually connected with that central cable, backbone cable, right. So here, because every computers are connected with the same cable, it is known as a multi-point configuration based technology, right. So multi-points are there, right. Every computers are actually connected with the same cable. Okay, here one long thick cable is there, which will act as a backbone cable. The other devices, other computing devices will be connected with that particular backbone cable. Here lace cabling is needed, because there will be only one cable is there, and rest of the machines are actually connected with that cable, right. So here lace cabling will be there, and hence we can say it's a cost effective. Obviously you need to spend a less cost than the star topology, because here you need to use a lace cable. Okay, it is less reliable. Why? Because suppose if something happens to the cable, your entire network get disturbed. Okay, and due to that reason it is not that much reliable. Even it will be a very difficult to recognize the problem, detect the problem, and solve the problem. It is having a less speed, and it is also less secure, because here you see every machines, whenever any machine want to transmit the data, it will be the signal will be propagated in the cable. So those signals will be received by all the other stations, right. And due to that reason, if one machine is transmitting the data for the second machine, but it will be received by all the terminals. So in that case, what we can say is it is using a broadcast mechanism, and we can say it's a less secure, right. Obviously that machine which is actually which should not have our data, that machine is also receiving the packet, and due to that reason it is less secure. The another topology is there, which is called a ring topology. Basically the ring topology is is made or suggested by the company which is called IBM. It's an international business machine. So ring topology is the similar to the bus topology, in which a device has a dedicated point to point connections. A signal is passed in the ring. So ring is nothing, it is made from a wire, right. So it's a cable, coaxial cable in a ring shape, and all the other stations are connected with that ring. Okay, the data will be passed in a one direction only, right. Each machine in the ring also works as a repeater. So let's suppose if I want to pass the data, I will pass the data to my nearby station. Nearby station will act as a repeater, right. So whatever my weaker signals are there, it will be generated by my neighbor, and it will be forwarded to its own neighbor, right. So here we are passing our data to the neighbor. Neighbor will act as a repeater, it will repeat my signals, right, it will regenerate the signals. When a receiver machine finds that the packet is for some another machine, they will regenerate the signal, fresh signals, and it will be passed through its neighbor. IBM, International Business Machine, this is the company which has actually proposed a ring topology. Here token passing mechanism is used. Token passing means what? There will be one frame is there which is known as a token, right, and the stations are circulating that token. Now suppose if any machine want to transmit the data, they will wait till the token will be received. Once the token is coming, let's suppose if I want to transmit the data, what I need to do is I will wait till my neighbor does not send me a token. Once my neighbor is sending a token to me, I will capture the token, right, and then I will start my transmitting. After completion of my transmitting, I will send this token to my neighbor. And now suppose if my neighbor wants to transmit the data, obviously that machine will capture the token and then it can start its own transmission, right. So that machine which want to transmit the data, that machine needs to acquire token. So that is a token passing mechanism. Another topology is there which is called the mesh topology, right. So here you can see every terminals are connected with other terminals, all other terminals, right. So there is a dedicated line is there. Now see, this type of network is, it's a very costly network, because here you can see if there are n terminals are there, in every terminal n minus 1 IO interface has to be there, right. Because suppose if in the network, if there are 6 machines are there, every machine are connected with 5 other machines. So obviously in every machine 5 LAN cards has to be there, right. So more number of IO connections are there, more cabling is there. But there are several advantages are there of using this system, right. What advantages? Because here 2 computers are transmitting their data through the separate cable. It will not be received by any other terminal. So obviously you will get a higher security, right. Second thing, if 2 machines are transmitting the data, they are using one cable. If another 2 machines are transmitting the data, they are using a separate cable, right. So the thing is, here the signals will be propagated in a one cable, it will not be conflicted with the another cable, right. So obviously this provides a higher speed, right. Third thing, let's suppose if one of the wire gets cut down, obviously you can also transmit the data to that particular machine via some another terminal, right. So reliability is there. So see, this type of network gives you a lot of things, right. It increases the speed, it increases the reliability, it increases security. So many more benefits are there of using this type of network. But the problem is what? Obviously here more cabling is there, and because of the more cabling, you need to spend a very high cost. So this is not actually a realistic example, right. You can never find this type of thing, right. Okay. So another topology which is called a mesh topology, which use actually a highest amount of cabling and cost. Fine. So in this session what we have done is we have discussed different type of computer networks, right. So we have discussed what actually the point to point line is there and what is a broadcast network, right. We have also discussed that, let's suppose if we will talk about internet connection, then the internet connection which is actually based on the different type of routers, and routers are actually, whenever routers are receiving the packet from any source, it will see all the outgoing line and it will select, it will compute the optimal path, and on that optimal path the packet will be forwarded. Due to that reason, it is not forwarding the incoming packet on all outgoing line. So when the router is used, obviously it will be a point to point kind of network, right. But let's suppose if we'll talk about LAN, then here all the packets is coming from a source machine, it will be broadcasted to every machine. So in the LAN we are using a broadcast. Then we have discussed a different type of topology. We have discussed star topology, ring topology, bus topology, mesh topology, and sometimes we are using a combination of such type of topology which is called a hybrid topology. Fine. So I think this much things are sufficient for our today's session. In the next session we will discuss something about internet, how internet, what is internet and how can we use internet and different services which will be offered by the internet. Till then, take care and bye bye.